Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of The Next 100. My name is Folarin Bitiri, and with me, as always, I have my partner in crime,
Hi,
OJ Molame, and we have two very interesting guests. If you're new to the podcast, what we do on this podcast is we're talking about the emerging industries and sectors that have the potential to do $100 million in annual revenue within the next 10 years. So today we are talking to a good friend of mine and a big boy in his own right.
The poor boy, please.
And his name is Olayiwola Osoba, and we also have the delectable Seun Obadan. So, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, thank you very much, Fola, for that. My name is Olayiwola Osoba. I am a marketing executive working for a fintech company here in Nigeria. I'm called Zone. Zone is a global payment infrastructure company that enables payment and acceptance of regulated digital currencies for financial service providers here in Africa and globally. And it's super exciting to be here. Fola is a very good friend of mine, and I really can't wait to just get started with the conversations. Yeah,
fantastic. Seun, do you want to?
Yeah. Thank you so much for learning. My name is Oluwaseun Obadan. I'm the founder and CEO of Arso Farms Limited. Arso Farms is an agriculture company with solving the problem of food insecurity in Africa using our African indigenous vegetables. We also give access to market for smallholder farmers, and we do a lot of empowerment with smallholder farmers as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. It's going to be an interesting episode because we have on one side we have payments infrastructure, on the other side we have agriculture, and we have farming. We have a direct to customer e-commerce type play in there, and I think it's going to be interesting. So what we try to do on this podcast is we start from where we are. We say what's the size of this market that you are playing in?
Mm-hmm.
What is the road to $100 million?
Yeah.
So the road to $100 million, typically we talk about like the government's engagement required in terms of policy or otherwise.
Yeah.
We talk about the infrastructure required. We talk about the institutions, whether it's talent management or talent development, or the technology or platform services and stuff like that. So who would like to go first?
Ladies first.
Okay. Yeah. So Shay, let's go with you.
Right.
So speak to us a little bit about your industry.
So, my industry is a mix of agro-allied, that's value addition. Yeah, and I also do a lot of things in, as I mentioned, e-commerce. We currently are B2B, so we serve businesses, retail stores, hotels, restaurants, and we also serve direct customers. So we do like a farm to table. I call it farm to doorstep. So we have this hashtag farm to doorstep. Yeah. We are, if we farm organically, yes. I would say that for Africa, our industry is emerging. It's still emerging. So it's not, fully solidified yet. Yeah. Even globally, what we do on the nutshell is we use organically farmed vegetables. We are into crops. I'm a farmer, yes. And we turn them into smoothies, juices, and supplement powders, like veggie powders, So we are promoting nutrition, yes. In the SDG, I would say that we are in SDG 2, that's zero hunger, trying to push malnutrition out of Africa, yada, yada, yeah. Yeah. So the question you asked, you asked that where are we right now?
Yes, where are we right now?
Right now, I would say that we've been able to find our bearing. Agriculture is not easy. Let me not cook the words. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to everyone who thinks it's easy out there. No, it's not easy. So I would say that I've been here for 5 years, and I would say that for the past 2 years I just got my bearing. So the past 3 years was like, where is this? What am I? Who are we? Yes, and I would say our revenues are spanning 30 million at the moment. We are we're precisely a young company, even though I've been here for 5 years. As I mentioned, we just began, making waves, in the past 2 years. Yeah. So we are currently doing retail stores, selling to retail stores, selling to direct consumers. We're currently still in Lagos. We are hoping to move to other states, Ibadan, Abuja, precisely. We're currently still in Lagos. We've done a couple of exportation here and there. Yeah. However, it's not on the large scale. So I would say that we're still very much small to medium scale business at the moment. Yeah. What exactly would you want so that I can eat the nail on the head?
I guess the question is for the industry, not necessarily even just for you guys alone. Like for your industry as a whole, like what would you say? What would you say is the demand right now?
Oh, so the demand is pretty good. Yes, because maybe it was the COVID-19 that pushed it. With the advent of the COVID-19 came a lot of people drifting towards the healthy side. Yes, so the demand for healthy products, to be healthy, to be fit, is actually really, really good. The demand is high. Globally, no, let me talk about African-wise. The market is much more than 7.1 billion, and I would say,
is that dollars?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes, so it's a very solid market.
Wow.
Yes, it is.
Market for supplements or what?
For juices, juices and veggie powders, which is where we are. Juices and veggie powders. Yes, it's about 7.1 billion at the moment.
That's very interesting.
It is. So most people are gravitating towards the healthy side. Yes, I'm going to tell you, I have a channel of nutritionists. Yes, that pivot their customers to me. So I have people that have health related issues and people. Yes, so. I mean, I'm sure that every one of us knows someone that has one health-related issue or the other. So you can imagine it's a very good market, despite it's still emerging. And don't forget that Nigeria comes with its volatility when it comes to production, especially when it comes to manufacturing. That thing.
I can imagine.
Wow.
Yes. So it's a very strong market.
I think we will need to double click on that, but I would like to hear from Lai as well.
Yeah.
Like from a payments perspective, I know that payments has been a hot ticket for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I know from the Paga, shout out to Mr. Tayo Vyoso. Shout out to everybody. Yeah. Because there've been quite a number of people. But I a lot of people tend to say, and actually we had a guest on our last episode who also said that in his opinion, payments is just getting started. Like there's been a 0 to 1 moment, but we're still in the 1 to 99 moment. And that moment is where a lot of the value is then captured. So from a zone perspective or just from a Lai perspective, what do you see happening in the industry? What areas are like the juicy parts that you see having that level of impact?
That's a very great question. And I think for me to speak to your question about what part of the sector of the payment space is juicy enough to drive impact, whether you want to think about it from an economic perspective or whatever, I need to track back just so that I can remind everybody that everything that we do today from a payments perspective, we take for granted. And I say we take for granted because if you think about what payments was like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was crazy. I know that my elder brother, when he was in school, my mother literally had to go to the bank to
bank draft.
Bank draft. There was a time when somebody would have to maybe we didn't have digital payment channels at that point in time. So I'm buying airtime. Maybe I buy like 5,000 naira worth of airtime, and then I send it to you, the code, and then you just find somebody to sell that to, and then that's how we're, sending money. So I wasn't really sending value to, I wasn't really sending monetary value to, I was sending value, but then you would now sell it and then make money, So when you think about all of the innovation that has happened from that time to date, like you can literally just sit here and wire $1 million to somebody. Like that's how simple payment has gotten. And we take it for granted because we don't understand all of the work that has gone into ensuring that the payment space in itself is viable enough. you said something now about how we're still scratching the surface. You can say that, but I think when you say that, you don't give credit to all of the great and amazing work that has happened within the payment space. So I would say that Nigeria's payment space has grown tremendously. The banks have done so much like amazing work, and then then there was now the wave of like the fintechs. There was a first wave of the fintechs around the early 2000s. We had the Pagas, we had all of those guys, and then we had the second wave when the InterSwitch were like first wave, AppZone and all the likes. And then when you think about the second wave of fintechs, the Flutter wave, the Paystacks, and all of those guys. And everybody at shout out to all of them.
Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Piggyvest.
Shout out. And then, like when you think about all of the work that all of these guys have done, from whether it's an infrastructure perspective or a processing perspective, like it has set the stage for how the rest of the other guys will thrive. If the likes of InterSwitch hadn't done what they did in the early 2000s, it would be hard for the Flutter waves and the Paystacks today to actually thrive. So I think we just need to give credit to everybody to start with. Now, the opportunities that lie in the payment space it's very, very huge. And I'll tell you why. Payments is the bedrock of any economy, right? If you do not have a platform or an infrastructure to transfer value from one person to another, then nothing would really happen. All of these products, I mean, the amazing product that you sell today, the only reason why you can get value is because there's a payments, there's an infrastructure on ground that can allow you transfer value. So I would say that, the payment space in itself would almost always be one of the most, viable sectors for Nigeria's economy. But the juiciest part that we really need to start to look at now, the entire payment space, especially if you consider banks, commercial banks and the likes, like we have more than 300 players in Nigeria. I'm not even talking about Africa, but then if we even say, okay, let's take out the commercial banks and then just look at fintechs, we have over 200 fintechs doing different things across, payments, lending and all of that. So there is enough for people to take advantage of. But for me, I think that the biggest space would be serving the underbanked people, So anybody who can really hack that. And that's where we have the Money Point. Money Point raised over $100 million last year. And what Money Point is doing is I'm trying to manage my words, but look, if you think about what they're doing right now, you'd be like, we had a lot of players in this Money Point space. How is it that these guys were the ones that hacked it? They hacked it. They hacked out to serve these guys in, underserved areas. They hacked it. And Money Point right now, the fact that they're raising $100 million in a funding climb where everything is dried. And I'm not even messing with you guys. Like the funding landscape right now is tough, right? 5-10 years ago, just show somebody your deck and you're raising $5 million in seed fund. But then right now you need to show them your books. Like, are you already making rev? Are you already even profitable? That's before you can even raise your Series A. So, but then we see the fintechs are still doing it. So yeah, I think that if you can, the juiciest part is addressing if you can focus on the payment infrastructure part, which is what we're doing at Zone, there's a huge, opportunity there. And then, also building to solve for the underbanked guys. There's a huge opportunity there.
I think that's a very, very interesting thing because I see a synergy between products like these and innovations like these that require manufacturing and the likes, and what's exactly what you're saying, because what I found is when you speak to a lot of people that are in fintech, at least 10 years ago, when the loan apps came, everybody wanted to do the same loan app. Then it was a savings product. Then everybody wanted to do the same savings product. And then now it became let's bank the unbanked. But then the unbanked did not want to be banked in that way.
In that way, exactly.
So it was like we're creating solutions looking for problems, right? But then if we think about from her perspective, like what are the real problems? What are the things that, a bank or a financial services provider, whether it's insurance, whether it's whatever, what are the things that you really need in order for your own business to thrive?
So what are the things that I need for my business to thrive? So I would say that I need access to market. Yeah. I need the ease in access to market. I mean, everyone keeps saying access to market, and you would find a lot of I registered with a a digital app recently that said they were going to give me access to market, but it looks like they were more just building the attraction for more investors than giving me access. Yeah, I call them out. Yeah,
Turn off the mic.
Please turn off our mic. It's okay. It's okay.
Yes. Yeah. So it becomes real, you know. We need access to inter-trading across Africa.
Yeah.
Yes, like, you know, how can I introduce this to people in Kenya? Because guess what? I'm using African veggies. So it's not limited to Nigeria. People in Kenya are very much aware of the veggies that are used in our products, you know, and so they'll be very enthusiastic and excited. Now, Africa is in vogue. So knowing that these veggie powders were what my grandparents used to heal and supplement, you know, their immunity. I believe that a lot of people out there, even in the European countries, would want to get on this. But what's the ease of access to market, and what's the ease of access to payments as well? Yeah. So those two things are there's still a digital tech gap. Yeah. You know, I'm as an entrepreneur as well, so there's still a very critical tech gap right now. Yeah.
Look, amazing response. And I think there was a blind spot in the response that I gave you earlier to one of the biggest, you know, opportunities for within the payment space. And then, you know, I said payment infrastructure, and then I said, you know, whoever is trying to solve the problems for the other banks. But then you see, for the payment infrastructure part, what I didn't exactly say is who is solving the infrastructure problem that isn't allowing us to facilitate cross-border payments. Right? Yeah. So I just wanted to paint a lot more color to that. Right? The reason why cross-border payments is a problem, even within Africa. Like, I mean, she's here, she's selling to people in Kenya. Ask her how easy it is.
It's not
you know?
easy.
Is it Afrixim?
Yeah, there's
it's
Afrixim.
Paps.
Yeah, there's Paps. I mean, there's Paps. But again, ask her how easy it is. Ask her. She's here.
It's and how accessible is it?
Yeah, how accessible is it? Yeah,
it's not.
You know,
it's not.
Look,
no.
Okay, so let me ask. So what is required from a tech infrastructure, digital finance perspective? What do we need to do to make this work?
So what do we need to do to solve the problem of cross-border payments?
For
That's what I'm hearing.
Of facilitating trade from a finance perspective.
So I think we need to be open-minded enough to innovation. A lot of people are already innovating for these things, you know, but then there's also the conversation of, you know, how open are regulators to this
government
innovation?
Policies.
Exactly, you know, crypto as it is today, you know, I mean, we have a bunch of crypto exchanges who, you know, you can literally use stable coins to do all of these things, you know, but then if in this country or in the country that you're banking with, you know, crypto payments is not even allowed or enabled, you know, then it means that they've blocked that channel. But then the ideal thing for a regulator to do will be, how can I even understand how this particular space works? Right? How can I understand the risks, and then what do I do, you know, to ensure that this particular space is regulated, but then I'm allowing the facilitation of cross-border payments. So I think that regulators have a huge role to play, allow innovation. But regulators have actually been very friendly to us at Zone, right? Because what we're also doing is we're building the rails for the future of payments, right? And we're using blockchain technology. We've essentially decentralized like payment processing. And it was a very tough one. We got our license in 2022, but then we needed to engage the regulators. So I feel like people that are innovating really need to engage the regulators, say, look, this is what we're doing, right? Somebody was saying something about sandbox earlier, this is what we're doing. We'll show you how safe this thing and how this entire thing works. But then, yes, the regulators need to be carried along. And then when you're building something, you know, when you're building to solve the cross-border problem, collaboration is actually very important. How am I collaborating with Afrixim? How am I collaborating with Paps? It's very important. But you find innovators innovating in isolation. And then, I have my own. And then, you know, when everything should really just be connected in the first place, which is what we're doing at Zone. So I think to solve for this problem, innovators, people that are innovating to solve the problem need to carry regulators along, and they need to collaborate effectively. So to essentially make cross-border payments work. Yeah.
So I have a question to ask on that, and I think I'll ask both of you, but I want to get a feel of, and OJ, I'd like to bring you into this conversation because I want to know your opinion as well. Because one of the grouses or gripes that a lot of people have with banking in Nigeria is that banking in Nigeria is not set up for retail. So there's no real retail business. So if you look at the big banks, you see that something like 50% of deposits will probably come from their retail segment. And like maybe 70% of those loans will go to their, not even their commercial, they'll go to their corporate. And then their corporates will probably be like 3,000 people or 3,000 legal persons, like companies. Yeah. And then their commercial will be like maybe 10,000. And then their SME will then be like, small, and then their retail will be small. But the amounts, like the credit that is going to retail and small businesses and the likes, which is the lifeblood of the economy, is usually not significant. So what is required, because I know that there's a collections problem, for example.
Exactly.
I know that there are all this, but what do we need to do in order to improve collections? And for us to stop this, some people have called it feudalism.
Yeah.
This idea that you have a savings account and the way they make money off you is just fee and commission. Yeah. Transfer money, 15 naira. I saw a skit on Instagram and this guy is like, okay, I have 5K. And then for the 5K, for me to transfer money out, you want to remove 15 naira. Yeah. Like, sorry, if I have 500, for me to transfer money out, you want to remove 15 naira. So how much? How much? You understand what I mean? So like, what exactly is the solution? Because I think we can all agree that this idea of fee and commission income for retail banking is not,
the bank agree to that.
Yeah.
The shareholders would not agree to that.
I mean. Anyways, this is just, maybe I'm just saying from this.
I think again it's about mandate. So
There's
the mandate of a commercial, of a corporate bank is to bank the corporates. They're doing their job.
Yeah.
So the mandate of the merchant banks originally are to bank the economically poor and then those lower grade SMEs, and they had issues doing that. So that I think is the issue. So you can't really expect a GTB to bank an SME. As much as on paper it looks good, number one, it's too risky for them. And number two, it doesn't just pay them. So it's easier to support Eco Atlantic or Dangote refinery or flour mills or Olam or all these people. It's easier to just do that or support the state government. Than to see
state government. Yes, you're right. That's
like I remember once someone told me that we noticed that anytime a new government being inaugurated, if you look at the first row, bank executives. Then you're done with this speech. Let's just talk about it.
Because it's guaranteed. They're guaranteed to get their money.
Yes. I can't default a state. So we will just manage it. But that money has to come back one or the other. So I think that's really the issue. The issue is the mandate. So it's a bit who's responsible to bank the SMEs and the MSMEs. And originally, I do recall like reading a circular, and the circular stated clearly that a microfinance bank is set up to bank the economically poor. So basically, a market woman, for instance, has no business going to access bank. She's meant to go to her nearest MFB. Well, now Money Point.
I mean, she can, but she's much. I mean, she'll be more successful if she goes to the MFB.
Because in the branch, they're looking at her like, right?
So how much do you need again?
Have you been in the branch? Maybe like a commercial bank. I don't name a bank. Being in the branch, like when it's full of all sorts of people, and the tellers are flustered. So the tellers are flustered not because of the people, just like this is not for you. I remember when I went to a bank years ago before the big transfer thing came in. And I was like, oh, I want to transfer money. She asked me, how much? And I told her, she said, bring your phone. Come. She literally, bring your phone. Oh, start. Transfer. Got me going. Oh, he wants to withdraw money. How much? ATM. I remember once I went to a bank and the guy was like, how much again? He had told me, so you see, I have other important things I'm doing. But I'm going to leave this with data.
I think that's a very important point because for years I've been saying that it seems like a lot of the products that are offered for retail customers by corporate banks, because let's face it, most of them are very corporate facing. So the products that are being offered by them is just to automate their banking processes, their internal processes. They are not building products to solve the problems of the ordinary guy. They are building products so that you don't have to be coming to me to come and be telling me you want to withdraw 200 naira or 500
and actually,
naira,
again, speaking on that, because I know a bank had a loan product called a quick credit. And I remember it went through a lot of evolution before they just cancelled it outrightly. So actually, it started off with, it will be open to our customers. And then it now evolved into if you're a salary customer. So again, the moment I'm pegging it on a salary, I'm taking out most of Nigeria already. Which means that you need to be in the formalized economy. Yeah. You need to have that. You need to have it.
And Anoji, I think that really just shows us what the problem is. The reason why that's quick credit thing you spoke about just kept evolving to say, okay, now we're not, these are the only guys that are eligible, and then all of a sudden, it kept shrinking. It's because at every time they're like, oh man, collections is hard.
It's hard.
These guys don't even have. I can't even trace their business. You say this is your business address. I go there and it's just an empty land, or whatever the case may be. So I think collections, in the sense, is actually a big problem. But I'll tell you what you see, a lot of people are shying away from their responsibility. And I'll take that again. A lot of people, a lot of stakeholders, from regulators to the financial institutions, even to the government, they are not taking full ownership of these things. In the informal sector, right, a lot of businesses are lifestyle businesses. People are just doing this particular, like you find a lot of Instagram stores and they're just doing it, for the day-to-day part of it. Nobody's really thinking about to say, how can I build this business and grow this business? Everybody's running it like I'm running, something on the side.
I'm trying to build Apple.
Out of my garage. But nobody's doing that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying someone is just selling clothes on IG, and that's just what it is. Yes, you continue to, maybe you expand your stock, but then you're not thinking about structures, you're not thinking of corporate governance, you're not thinking of, exactly, you're not thinking of those things. And these are the things that, regulators or these institutions, for instance, if a GT Bank is if I'm giving you a loan, I would set up an advisory committee. So imagine me saying, I am hiring 50 top professionals across different sectors. So I'm hiring like top finance guys, lawyers, top strategists, top all of that. And then you have a community of these guys. And then for every time that you give a small business a loan, you then have, you just assign it, advisory, just assign it, and then if you do that, it means that you're now doing something deliberate to say, look, I know that you have so much potential. I'm going to ensure that we give you the right, support that you need to grow and to do this thing the right way. Because again, nobody's really teaching anybody these things. People are just winging it. A lot of businesses are winging it. And I promise you, anyway, we're talking about something about the bar. People are winging it. But if you have these financial institutions, I'm giving you a loan, but then I'm also, assigning you, an advisory team or an advisory committee, and then they just help you standardize and grow. That way, that the chances of you actually getting your money back will be higher, because by the time you're giving them your loan, your advisory committee, they're already sending a report to say, yes, this particular business can grow like this. Now imagine all of the financial institutions, all of the banks, the regulators come and say, I'm giving you guys a mandate. This particular money, you must give it to them. You must do this, you must do that. You must set up an advisory committee. Bro, they'll take this thing seriously now. And if you have something like this, these small businesses are the ones that will catalyze the economy. Do you know how many Instagram vendors are employing people?
Exactly.
Do you know how many of these Instagram vendors are employing people?
The last CBN governor, I recall there was a conversation around, there's a ratio for what is it?
Liquidity?
No, it's the...
Oh, capital adequacy.
It's not that one. It's measures at the number of loans that the banks are giving out.
Right.
Loan to deposit ratio. Yeah, that was it.
Yes. And he said that Nigeria is one of the least in the world. And it was like, they were not giving out loans. So I think, I may be wrong. However, I do recall under the last CBN governors, then it crashed everything. Crashed the T-bill.
So what they did was that we started talking about agriculture and banking, and then we are back to square one. Because I think every discussion we've had on this podcast, we said, okay, let's talk about this industry. And we always go back to hardware.
Yeah.
We always go back to, those base infrastructure things.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people in tech, or a lot of people in different circles, even in creative economy.
Yeah.
We spoke to someone in creative economy, and, we need those brick and mortar type tech things, so hardware. And unless we get it right, there's just no no way there will be scale.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I
a
agree.
conversation around agri-tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The challenges that it's hard to scale.
Yeah.
Because the way I see it is that if I'm innovating something, I'm innovating on top of something.
Yeah.
But with agri, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Because there's no infrastructure,
Yeah.
there's no other farmers,
Yeah.
there's no this, there's lack of this, lack of that.
Yes.
So if you put a platform on that and just shake it small, phew,
Exactly.
goes down, RIP to those
Yeah. Look, OJ, like this infrastructure thing is actually everywhere, even down to the payment space. I'll explain to you. Why do you think every time you try to, I don't know if you've noticed, but on the 30th or 31st of the month, when people are collecting salaries or during festive periods, you realize that, the chances of you sending money to maybe from your bank to another bank and it being successful is never really 100%. Like there's always that worry of this thing might not go. You know why? It's an infrastructure problem. It's an infrastructure problem where payments is concerned. This doesn't have anything to do with power or cloud technology or whatever. And I'll explain. When I started talking, I said a lot of these great, amazing fintech and payment companies, they've built a lot of stuff that people are currently using today. But then you see, in the early 2000s, when they were building the infrastructure that would power payments for Nigeria, nobody really envisaged that the volume of payments today is what it would be, right? And if you remember, during the cash redesign policy period, when people couldn't even access cash, right? What did that mean? People would now rely on doing transfers, but then a lot of payments it just kept failing in that period. 15%. You know why? Because the infrastructure that was supposed to facilitate payments, it was just not powerful enough to do that, right? And if you bring that back to zones, that's the problem that we're solving. And that's why, sometimes I'm like, we're solving one of the hardest problems in payment space. We've decentralized it. And we're like, you know what? This centralized system or infrastructure that we have is a failure point, right? The moment that centralized point is down, everything is down. And then how do we decentralize this? And then at Zone, that was how we said, you know what? Let us pack up everything that we're doing from an AppZone perspective, and then let's evolve this brand to focus on just one thing. So the company that I work for used to be called AppZone. We had a lot of products. We had Cluster. We had core banking application that was serving all of the microfinance banks, all of the MFBs. We're doing very fine, fantastic. But again, we have coconut head, and we're like, look, there are problems to be solved. Instead of going and creating a fancy loan app or whatever, we're like, let's solve an actual problem. And one of the biggest problems in the payment space is the payments infrastructure problem. And I realized that, look, one of the most intelligent ways to solve this thing is to use a different type of technology, which is what brought about blockchain. Now, there's blockchain that we're trying to use to solve the payment infrastructure problem, but then there's a CBN who doesn't even want to hear blockchain because they only think about blockchain from a crypto perspective. Right? So then we now started to educate, to say, look, this is how, in short, at the early stages, we didn't even call what we're doing blockchain. We called it decentralized, that's what we did. We couldn't even call it what it was. But then, over time, they're now very open to, okay, let's even hear what these guys are saying. We've gotten a lot of the licenses that we're doing, and banks and fintechs are currently using our product to facilitate payments. And it's different. Like, they know it. Like, people are literally rushing to say, okay, this is the thing that we really need to be using to facilitate payments.
I think I always say this thing.
So it's an infrastructure problem.
I always say this thing in Nigeria is that the number one issue in this country is infrastructure. It's that's the number one issue. Yeah. So in any sector, there's always some infrastructure problem there. Yes. If it's music, if it's film, if it's fintech, if it's fashion, if it's agri, if it's every
Oh my God, yes.
Because I can tell you a story. I did some agri consulting in my consulting days, and I studied of all crops tomatoes. So by the time I went and I saw those tomatoes and I saw them spoiling,
of course,
so first I just ran away.
Yeah.
So, however, a lady, an innovator, tomato juice factory.
Yeah.
I remember I went to a tomato juice, and I remember she said that, look, she said what happened was that I think she was one of those, I don't want to say missionary, or those aid people, Red Cross, those people. And then she said, she was just in her car, they were driving her home. She said, what's all this red everywhere? What happened? The driver said, the tomatoes, they are throwing it away, spoiling. She said, you're just throwing away all these tomatoes like that. So she now said, you know what? Okay, it's a processing problem. Let us process the tomatoes. Let's build a plant, yada. I like shout out to Dangote to build a plant. So now, that's when she now realized that, it's not a processing problem, actually. It's a production problem. It's an infrastructure problem. So what she did was that the first thing, she had to train the farmers again.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm doing right now.
So yeah, I remember she said she had to train the farmers again how to produce the right tomatoes, the right species for processing. She had to train them to produce optimum yield. Obviously, she had to invest in that infrastructure.
Yeah.
She had to basically invest in
the grassroots. You have to start low.
She had to get the land. She had to do all of that.
Yeah.
Then before they were at a good point, then she could then open the plant. Yeah. I think it took almost 5 years.
Oh my God.
Before she finally opened the plant. It's like,
she said, oh my God.
And she hadn't even started.
Yeah, she's just starting. Because I remember she went, I think, I don't know her, but I've been reading about her for a while, and I think it may be maybe 10 years ago now, maybe maybe 7, 8 years. I can't really remember, but I remember I read something about her, and then I think her name is Mira. She went to, I think, Oxford or Harvard or one of them, and I think maybe she went to give a talk somewhere, and then she mentioned all the 0 to 1 level solutioning they had to do. I remember one thing she said they ran an experiment once, and that they're like, okay, why are we using these wicker baskets? You know, wicker baskets are some of the tomatoes get spoiled. So why are we using that? Why don't we use crates? So she did it. She did an experiment, and then she published the results of the experiment. This was years ago, and I remember she said that essentially, by the time you do the math, it didn't make sense. At that time.
Yeah.
I think if you revisit it now, it might make sense. But at that time, it did not make sense. And why am I driving at this? I think we're getting to a point where we're being forced. Those hard problems that we've been running away from.
Thank you.
We're now at the point
that the government has been running away from.
It's not just the government, it's everyone. Everyone.
It's hard.
I think right now where we are, we don't have any choice. You must solve that. If you don't solve that problem, you starve.
So I'll give an example of agriculture, exactly where I am. I mean, I've been here, I told you I've been here for 5 years, just hustling and bustling. And I had to realize that if I don't solve the problem of education regarding my smallholder farmers, irrigation and using tech, I'm going to come back. We're just going to continue going in a circle, meeting the problem, staying on the same problem. So that's why I had to start training my farmers. Putting irrigation on their farm. I mean, Nigeria has fertile soil, but with the Harmattan, comes drought and everything. So now I'll tell you, in month of January, prices of vegetables are skyrocketing. They're so expensive, and this is because we're just in a cycle. Of in January everywhere is dry. So if we had proper irrigation and tech, we would not have this issue. Because majority of the plants we have in terms with our indigenous vegetables, they're drought resistant. But because
fonio.
Yes,
we're importing wheat with $4 billion, or $3 billion every year. But we have fonio that is drought resistant.
Yes.
I don't understand.
But because we don't have the knowledge on how to grow these things properly, and these smallholder farmers do not have the knowledge. They don't have the resources, even the smallest resources. So they are still using O&, cutlass. It's the truth. They're still using O&, cutlass. And these are people that the backbone of our economy is on. They're still using O&, cutlass. So that's why we have to get to the grassroots. We have to train our smallholder farmers. That's where I am right now. I'm not even interested in selling per se. So I'm like, I'm going to come back to this problem next year. Why don't I take care of my farmers, ensure that they have their stuff together, so that they can give me the produce that is required and it is sustained for me, rather than me always coming back to the same issue. Of one day there's no produce, one day something.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, but it's a skill issue, right?
It's encompassing.
Well, it is, but then there's also the infrastructure problem that even just, and I really don't want us to, remove that responsibility from the people that are responsible for it. Because even these farmers, they have to even transport it, whatever they're producing, So the government, they have a huge role to play, and we look, because we're comfortable, we've taken up so much responsibility of the government. Your water, you're powering your water yourself. You're powering your, some people, people have inverters in their house. I have a friend who has 10 kVA inverter into house. He's off grid. Do you understand? Like 20 kVA. Like people are taking care of these challenges that the government should even be taking care of now. Because I'm focusing on these problems that the government should be solving, I'm not freeing myself up enough to be creative or innovative to solve actual real problems that can solve. Do you understand? So everybody's just solving for themselves when the government can just solve for everybody, and then everybody can now start to solve more interesting problems.
I'm of the opinion personally that at the scale that we are at now in Nigeria, it's impossible when you look at the government revenues for us and the structure of the country. It's impossible for the government to solve some of these problems. Let me give you an example of why. I think during the Buhari government, they set up one of the N Corps. I call them N Corps. So anything Nigeria, national, something. I call them N Corp.
Yeah.
So they set up an N Corp that was built to size the infrastructure gap in Nigeria. So I think he came up with like $2.4, $2.7 trillion at that time. And they said, private sector will come up with X, we will come up with Y.
Yeah.
I did the math. On a yearly basis, the amount that the government was supposed to come up with, if we were to meet that, is it 2030 or 2050 target or something like that? It was something like 50-something billion dollars.
Yes.
Now, don't forget that for the last 10 years, our budget has been something around $30 billion, something around that. So when Naira moved, or when the Naira to dollar exchange rate moved, like if you look at the movement, it's still the same 30 odd billion dollars, you know. And we are talking about a country that keeps growing in population, a country where 44% of the country is said to be 15 years and younger.
Yeah.
We are in a country where the former Minister of Education said that 2 million kids tried to get into school and only 750 kids were able to.
Yeah.
So where are the other 1.25 million? You understand what I'm trying to say? So the scale, the enormity of, you know, Nigeria as we speak, it cannot be private. So even in 2015, I wrote an article saying that we should be doing more PPPs, and I cited the example of LNG because LNG is testament to the success of PPP. So I guess my point is, from our own perspective as practitioners in these different industries, what kind of partnerships are required today for us to solve this problem on a decentralized basis that we can then scale? Because this Obasanjo farm, I'm not nothing against Obasanjo farm, by the way, but this Obasanjo farm approach is not going to work. I'm sorry. And I have a lot of respect for Alhaji Dangote. Obviously, everybody knows that this man has done something that nobody else has ever been able to do. But it's been so difficult. Like the odds of, you know, something like that surviving in every industry are so minute, because the things he probably had to, I don't know, but the things he probably had to deal with are so enormous. Like, so that's why, like, we have to respect the man. I mean, we're almost out of time. Our producers are already telling us that we're almost out of time. But like, I guess my point is, just a last question, what kinds of partnerships are required? Because these partnerships must be local. Now they're talking about local government autonomy. So how can we, you know, get this local government autonomy that we already have? How can we get this technology like the blockchain that you guys are building? How can we get all these like the farming and the demand you already have? Because demand is not easy to come by. How can we get all these things and then have the government in the room? And what is required in order to set that up?
I think I'd like to start speaking about, you know, the type of partnerships required in the payment space. I think that, you know, when you consider all of these other industries that you guys have said, the payment space is not as scattered as, you know, all of these other spaces. I think that the regulators and the governments, they've been very, and I mean, I'm not surprised, because it's value we're talking about now, right? If you cannot keep your financial services space sane enough, you know, then you might as well just kiss your economy goodbye. So I think they've done, you know, pretty amazing work, if you ask me. A lot of the policies that they've pushed has really allowed Nigeria to leapfrog other economies where their payments, where payments is even concerned. Like when you think about it, you know, Nigeria is up there. So it's happening. But the one thing that I would say is that for the PPPs to actually thrive across industries, the government, they have to do their part. If the private organization and the government comes together. I can imagine a world where they come together and say, okay, let's do this. This is what we need to do. And I can already imagine, people in government just looting their own parts and not doing their part. Like I can imagine them not doing their parts. That's how I know the Nigerian, agencies and institutions to be. Some agencies and institutions, I think the financial payment space is good, but other industries, the government just really needs to do their own part. We need 500 billion. The private sector, they bring 250 billion. Governments, bring your own 250. They can even bring it and still loot it. So it's just the inefficiencies in this thing that we really need to attack over and beyond. People know what they need to do in terms of collaboration. It's just they just need to actually do it. That's what I would say.
That's an interesting point. So last final word for Michelle.
Okay, so I would my final word is that there should be more collaboration in the agriculture space, rather than more businesses.
Yeah.
More businesses are good, but we should come together and we should forge more collaborations that are stronger. I mean, would you rather make $100,000 million or make $1 million? So if 12 of us will come together and we can forge something that will bring $1 million, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Then leave you in your 100,000.
I say, do you want 100% of a grape or 10% of a watermelon?
So how can we try? So which one?
Okay, so let's try this.
The mango.
Yes.
Okay, mango.
So
So guys, we're going to try the organic.
Nice.
What's organic?
All right.
Breakfast boost.
So
Okay.
this is it's called the Green Life Mix. It's a mix of different leaves together. It's a vegetable powder. It's like taking a protein supplement, but it's not a protein supplement. It's rather a vegetable powder. We have mixed our Niger leaves, our African leaves together, and it also has baba powder, and it has 100% mango powders in it. Yeah, so it's not sweet like sugar. So
I love that.
Cool.
yeah.
Oh, I like your branding, by the way. It's really cool.
Thank you.
The use of green and lemon.
Yes,
and,
it's actually made in Nigeria. This produces 100% made in Nigeria at the moment.
Nice.
Yeah, it took a lot of time.
Shout out to Uncle
Who's the
Ben
target
Bruce.
market? I'm curious.
Yeah, my target market
You.
health enthusiasts. Yeah, so yeah.
So which are the gyms, obviously?
No.
Partner with gyms.
I partner with nutritionists.
Okay, nutrition.
Yes. So it smells really green. So
It does,
early in
actually.
the morning. You
Yeah.
can just
And even the way it's blended, it's very fine,
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's fine.
Buy Nigeria to grow
I
Naira.
mean, that's we end the episode.
Wait. Let's not end the episode. Let's test it and let's.
So it doesn't taste gory. It doesn't taste bad. You know how you think that green is horrible. No, confess. Oh no, these guys know.
This is actually really good. I would take this
It's
every
nice,
day. Yeah.
Nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
OJ, what's it?
And the thing is that all these
I'm
things.
drinking it now.
Your food is supposed to heal you.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
when people start eating things that I don't want to mention names, GMO. But
Yeah.
and everything is organically farmed. So it means
Nice.
organically farmed means that we don't have any chemicals in our planting process. Yes, and this also helps with. There's so much waste also in the crop industry.
Yeah.
Yes, rather we are being food secure and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So every
Cool.
morning you should consume your greens. It just helps you. Consuming this kind of greens is equivalent to consuming 4 cups of greens.
Oh wow.
Yes, which is
4 cups
you should
of
take
grains.
a minimum of 4 to 6 cups of greens every single day. You should take a minimum of 4 to 6 cups of greens every single day. But I'm sure that have you had vegetables today?
Well, yeah, I have now.
Yeah, so with this you can also enjoy your life and consume your greens effortlessly and easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's it.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on yet another exciting episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please follow. We'll put the details of the guests in the show notes. So please follow them as well. Buy their things. Buy Nigeria to grow the Naira.
Yeah.
And make sure you share. Make sure you comment. And much love. God bless you. Peace.
Thank you so much. Take care.